Councilmember Yaroslavsky,
Here.
Councilmember Rodriguez, Councilmember Krikorian, and Councilmember Blumenfield.
Blumenfield present.
Thank you, Mr. Knight. We have a quorum. Colleagues, we have 3 items on the agenda this afternoon. We're now ready to open public comment. City Attorney, would you please read instructions on how to give public comment?
Similar to council, you have 1 minute per item to speak. Let's try it now. Okay. So you will have 1 minute per item to speak, up to 2 minutes total. It's a special meeting, so there is no general public comment. And we ask merely that you please be on topic, and that's it.
Wonderful. First up, we have A. Grabner, followed by Sonia Blake, and then Aaron Hall.
All right, I will do all items. All right, so let's see. We have, first of all, cancel the Olympics. For the CAO report regarding the annual report from the Olympics, I'd like to say there's some troubling stuff on this report. You're talking about how you want to create like a, improve the quality of life. What does improve the quality of life mean? Because because we all know what usually happens when the Olympics comes into the cities. They use it to increase the police state, and that's the whole point of the Olympics. And you're gonna do a massive, sweeps of unhoused people. That's what happens at every Olympics. You're going to build all these stadiums. They're going to sit empty for, just right after the Olympics because, just like, it happened in Brazil, it happened in, where else? It happened in pretty much every city it's happened in. They've built all these stadiums, and then they're not used because they don't need stadiums, but you just used all kinds of taxpayer dollars to create these stadiums that now just sit empty and waste space. So, yeah, the whole point of the Olympics is they're going to create a police state. They're going to try to create a bigger police state than we already have. A lot of the current police state was created during the '84 Olympics, and none of this money is going to benefit the just regular or average people of Los Angeles. We're not even going to be able to get tickets to see these games because they're going to be so expensive. This is an event for rich people, of rich people, by rich people, and they should go ahead and cancel the Olympics.
Thank you. Sonia Blake, followed by Aaron Hall, and then Albert Lord.
Good afternoon. I'm Sonia Blake. I run the Valley Economic Alliance, a community and economic development institution in our beloved San Fernando Valley region. As a proud member of the LA28 Community, Business, and Procurement Working Group, I have the pleasure of a front row seat to the work. The working group has already met to review and offer input into the team's policies and strategies for economic empowerment, including small business and workforce development, as well as contracting opportunities. We're already referring to Valley-owned businesses that LA28 has already begun posting in LA Ramp. I've also seen firsthand the community-based visionary plans laid forth at community meetings by LA28's Vice President of Impact, Eric Aldridge, who participated alongside myself and others in the City of Los Angeles Accessing LA Summit recently, and the Koi Pond Pitch Fest for emerging businesses at that event. In addition, LA28 will be an integral component of the Alliance's June 16th Next Level Business and Capital Growth Summit at LA Mission College in Sylmar this Friday. As a panel discussion participant, along with LA Metro, LACCD, and Hollywood Burbank Airport, Eric will be highlighting contracting opportunities for businesses located in the San Fernando Valley region, an area which too often misses out on opportunities promoted throughout the LA Basin. So the Alliance is thrilled to be a part of this effort and looks forward to partnering with LA28 to ensure its success. I have information packets I can leave with you if you like, and I appreciate your attention.
Thank you very much, Ms. Blake. Next, we have Aaron Hall, followed by Albert Lord, and then Clayton French.
Good afternoon, council members, and thank you for this opportunity to provide public comments for the 2028 Olympics and the Paralympic Games. My name is Albert Lord, and I'm VP of Government Relations and Arts Programs for Community Build, a 501c3 nonprofit. I'm also honored to be co-chair of the LA28 Workforce Development Committee, representing a progressive interest for development of a workforce that includes the local hire of youth, transitional adults, and public safety workers. Engaging community partners like Community Build, the Brotherhood Crusade, Cal State University, Office of the Chancellor, and the Community Crusade Community College Consortium, we are laying the groundwork, a foundation of inclusion and diversity, bringing together a work group of community advocates and nonprofits. I have personally reached out to local Recreation and Parks Department to encourage staff to engage youth summer hires for job development, leading to opportunities of working at the 2028 Olympics. I spend time with our local aquatics facilities like the Barack Obama and Michelle Obama Recreation Complex, contributing resources for the Celeste King Pool Aquatics Program, like the upcoming Juneteenth Party in the Park. Our community partners are providing free swimwear, a pop-up of the African American Heritage Month exhibit, and a screening about the origins of surfing and black surfers called Wade in the Water. LA28 has stressed the idea of implementing a plan that opens the door of opportunity to our minority community well in advance of 2028. I am committed to this plan and will work diligently for its implementation. We move forward together. Thank you. Stay safe, stay well.
Thank you, Mr. Lord.
Good afternoon. My name is Aaron Hall. I'm the Executive Director of the Crenshaw YMCA. And on June 3rd, we were fortunate enough to have a track and field event for elementary age students in the Crenshaw area. And LA28 awarded us uniforms, backpacks, and water bottles, all branded Nike for the kids. And that really made the kids feel like athletes. They took pride in those uniforms as they ran. They were excited when they opened up the packages. It really made their day, and it helped make our event. And not only did they send those uniforms, they made sure that they had Olympic athletes at our event to engage with our students and to show them that there is a path forward in this sport for them. So they really created memories for these kids that they're going to remember for the rest of their life. And we could not have done this event without the help of LA28 and all the people that they have on the ground. So I can really speak to their community engagement and what it's done for our community. And we hope to work with them moving forward. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you very much. Clayton Fresh, followed by Curtis Silvers and Eric Spears.
Hello, members of City Council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Clayton Freck. I'm the CEO and founder of Angel City Sports. We're one of the largest adaptive sports providers in the country, based right here in the City of Angels. I'm also the father of an 18-year-old member of the U.S. Paralympic track and field team, Ezra. Side note, he missed a medal in Tokyo by an inch in the high jump. Been working in the adaptive sports world since he was born in 2005, and I care deeply about the disabled community. I'm here to voice my wholehearted support for the LA28 Olympic and Paralympic Games, and a deep gratitude to the city for bringing the Games to LA again. As we prepare to host our first Paralympic Games in Los Angeles, I see a massive opportunity to improve the lives of 15% of the population in the United States. That's 50 million people that live with a physical disability or a visual impairment. Through media, community activations, and the games themselves, filling the stands, we have an opportunity to normalize disability, reduce negative stigmas, encourage this population to live a healthy, active life, and ultimately unlock the dreams of kids just like my son on and off the field of play. And as the parent of a child with a disability that has faced endless pointing and stares and discrimination, even bullying, just for missing a leg and having a different hand, I am confident the LA 28 Paralympic Games will create a more inclusive society for all the kids behind him. Thank you much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Freck. Curtis Silvers, followed by Eric Spears and Eric SRLA.
Well, good afternoon, City Council members. I'm going to be like what Elizabeth Taylor told her 8th husband. I'm not going to keep you long, so I won't. You thought that was funny, huh? All right, don't take my time. But no, I'm the my name is Curtis Silvers, and I'm the Executive Vice President of Los Angeles Brotherhood Crusade. Brotherhood Crusade founded in 1968 in South Los Angeles, and we specialize in trauma youth development programs. Brotherhood Crusade, we have had an informal and formal relationship with LA 28, not only working closely with them on activities and projects in Los Angeles, but especially in South Los Angeles. We work very closely with the Vice President of Impact, Eric Aldridge, who is not only has been a friend of Brotherhood Crusade, but has incorporated the work that Brotherhood Crusade does in the community with LA 28. Just recently, our President and CEO, Sharice Berman Weaver, has joined the team to be on the local hire working group, and she's very active and concerned about to make sure that the right things are done in the community when the Olympics come. And we are working very closely with LA 28 to make sure that when it comes to hiring the right people, hiring some of the young people, the people in the other parts of the community, that's there. Making sure that the young people in all parts of the community, but that support is there. And also making sure that LA 28 brings a healthy environment to the community, which is so also greatly needed. So the Los Angeles Brotherhood Crusade, we definitely support the work that LA 28 is doing, and we look forward to continuing our support with them. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. Next, Eric Spears, followed by Eric SRLA, followed by Francisco.
Hello, I'm Eric Spears. I am a founder, co-founder, and senior coordinator of Students Run LA. The next person is actually me too, I think. So, we are the 7-month training program that takes students from their first mile to the starting line of the LA Marathon to the finish line of that LA Marathon. If you've seen us, we are the bright yellow group. There were 2,300 runners of students and another 400 adults. And we are here to thank you as the city for the partnerships, as well as LA 28, who has really put the word partnership into efforts with us. We are relying on partnerships, and the increase in our ability to offer this program for our youth is due to the partnerships, much like LA 28. LA 28 was able to provide the singlets, t-shirts this year that we ran, the bright yellow that I hope you saw when you turned on the marathon. And just so you know, 99% of those people wearing that singlet finished, including me. And this was our 34th year, so we're here for good. Part of that also with the partnerships is that they came out and actually were part of our cheer station, and importantly are part of our running them in, which is the last of the 4 miles of the marathon. And they came out with Olympians and helped our kids actually get through those last 4 miles. They also worked with the city recs and parks to be able to offer a 50-mile challenge, and we were able to do that. The kids ran an extra 50 miles and earned an extra medal and the beanies, and it was part of what made their success there. Our 500 seniors, 95% graduated, 95% of those are going to college, 77% of those are the first in their families to go to college. So thank you to LA 28, thank you to you. Please keep supporting this because they're supporting us. And that's what next year is for us too.
Thank you very much, Mr. Spears. Next, Francisco. Is Francisco the same as Francisco Medina? Wonderful. Mr. Medina, followed by Ron Cato.
Hello, members of the council. My name is Francisco Medina. I'm the executive director to the Salvation Army Los Angeles Red Shield Community Center. Our center has served, and it's in the heart of the community of Los Angeles, serving children, adults, seniors, and families for over 73 years. I'm here before you today to show my support for the LA 28 Olympic and Paralympic Games. In the summer of 2028, Los Angeles will host 15,000 of the best athletes around the world. This will be the first time Los Angeles will host the Paralympic Games. LA 28 is driven to expand awareness, understanding, and inclusion of people with disabilities. The LA 28 Games are an opportunity to make a larger impact on the community. It's so much more than a summer event. The Games can be a catalyst of lasting change. It sets the platform for children to believe and dream that anything is possible. This is extremely important, especially in communities like mine, where we service underprivileged children. I can't thank LA 28 enough for investing in their community to setting the path for our children's success. Lastly, it will help bring employment opportunities, economic benefit, and stability to many families. The LA 28 Games will inspire action, will help uplift communities and bridge gaps. Sports can connect and unite us and unite people across nations. It brings so much joy and at its finest can show the greatest in humanity. I'm in full support of the LA 28 Games. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Medina. Next, Mr. Cato.
Actually, it's Cato. Hi, I'm Ron Cato, LA City Health Commissioner for CD11, Councilwoman Tracy Parks. And thank you for working on this committee. I'm a native Angelino, University High 1975. And I would like to request, one of the council members from this ad hoc committee, as well as someone from LA 28 to make a presentation to our Health Commission meeting, which is held every second Monday in council chambers, 6 p.m. I know you're in recess next month, but we would like to, as you know, the city of LA does not have a health department, so the commission is trying to serve that vacancy. And what we do is we receive presentations throughout the year, and we make recommendations through our annual report to the council. The three main areas that we've been reporting are homelessness, emergency services, and a plan for a healthy LA. The general plan of Los Angeles has a health and wellness chapter, and there's a plan for a healthy LA in city planning. SB 1000, sort of revived it again. And I think it's a great opportunity for us to start incorporating before the Olympics in our annual report what's happening with the preparation, and post-Olympics. It's not just that one-time event, but see how it could affect the health and wellness, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, in these disadvantaged communities especially. I'd like to, once again, thank you for your services, and hope to see one of you, maybe all of you, and people from LA 28 at our committee meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cato. Next, we have Mr. Sachs. Okay, that is the end of public comment. I see no more speakers in the queue. We're going to close public comment. I'm ready to hear items 1, 2, and 3. They're all reports. So first, turning to number 1, Mr. Knight, would you please read the item?
Sure. Joint CEO and CLA report relative to the 2023 annual report from the Los Angeles Organizing Committee for the Olympic and Paralympic Games 2028 for the year ending December 31st, 2022.
Good afternoon, everyone. Robert Roth with the Office of the CAO. I'm presenting this, it's a joint report from the CAO and CLA, but I am presenting this. Pursuant to the Games Agreement between the city and LA28, LA28 provides us an annual report every year by March 31st for the prior year's operations. It includes financial conditions as well as budget and other items. Straight to the point, the LA28 Games budget remains unchanged. It's still $6.9 billion. For LA28's financial statements, which report the calendar year 2021, there's a reported revenue of $22 million, reported expenses of $93 million, and that results in an annual deficit of $71 million. However, big however, LA28 also identifies $212 million in deferred revenues. These revenues will affect that and offset the deficit that's currently being reported. So why is there a deferred revenue? Well, this is because of generally accepted accounting principles require the deferment of these revenues until they're delivered. Much of the revenue is in the form of sponsorships and licensing agreements. Some cash and payments may occur at the signing, but not recognized until later. Again, the budget remains $6.9 billion. It doesn't change. So also in this report are items such as management discussion and analysis, insurance, audited financial statements. It identifies contracts over $1 million, conflicts of interest statements, tax forms, as well as information and updates about the Youth Sports Partnership Program with Rec and Parks. We all know it's a $160 million program to increase access and participation in youth sports. Our current project plan for the YSP program is $17.5 million. As of March 31st of this year, we've expended $9.3 million. We're anticipating to have some remaining surplus of that. The next year's project plan is for 23-24 is $18.5 million, and that's an increase of $1 million. It is pending council approval, so you may see this coming up soon. The remaining available funds for future YSP plans, if this current, the proposed project plan is approved, will be $118 million. Finally, the annual report describes planning activities. These relate to working groups that are described in the Games Agreement as well. These working groups include Sustainability Working Group, the Local Hire and Workforce Development Working Group, as well as the Community Business and Procurement Working Groups. LA28 during the 22 calendar year provided 2 separate updates on these, as well as another update during 2023. My colleague from the CLA has a separate report, which is on the agenda, and he's going to provide more details on that report. And the recommendation at this point is for council to note and file this, as this report is submitted for informational purposes only.
Okay,
Any
great.
questions?
You answered all my questions. One question about inflation. I assume it's accounted for in the budget. Wondering what other risks there are to this budget, if any, beyond.
Well, if you don't mind, I would love to invite somebody from LA28 to provide some responses with that regard.
Thank you, and thanks for the great report. Relative to inflation, we have accounted for that. Today, we have about 65% of all revenues have been contracted. We have only spent 4% and actually obligated 8% of the overall budget. And that allows us to actually be able to react to any inflationary pressures. And so we feel very confident that budget continues to remain as it has, unchanged at $6.9 billion.
Thank you. Can you state your name for the record?
My fault. I apologize. Thank you. My name is Kathy Carter. I am the CEO of LA28.
Welcome, Ms. Carter. Colleagues, any questions? Councilwoman Rodriguez.
Hi. So I just had a question about the number of hotel rooms that were negotiated as part of the agreement. I know obviously hotel rooms are a big part of the contractual obligations that help to warrant us actually landing the Games Agreement. Can you tell me in terms of how many numbers of rooms, what we're kind of looking at just because there are implications for other policy decisions that are being currently deliberated, and I just wanted to, for my edification, to understand what we're locked into or committed to as a result of the games agreement.
First of all, thanks. Right now, we have about 14,000 hotel rooms nights that are under contract. We are in the process of contracting all of those, and most of those have been now obligated. Part of that is, and obviously there's a number of additional hotel properties that are coming online, and we do anticipate using all of those rooms, and we do believe that there'll be additional requirements, not as a part of our plan, but ultimately for the community, and ultimately for hotel rooms that will be left available for fans and traveling parties.
And so, and with those contracts, there's a fixed rate?
Did you want? Okay. You looked like you were reaching for it. Yes, so what we are making sure of is so we will obligate a certain benchmark rate that'll make it so there'll be no gouging for visitors that'll come into Los Angeles. But there will be additional hotel rooms that'll be available for those that are not a part of the contracted part of LA 28's allocation.
John Wickham with the CLA's office. I just wanted to add that any hotel that the city is assisting either through the entitlement process with a development agreement or hotel incentive agreement includes an Olympic room block requirement. And so anything that we are assisting, we are requiring that those hotels provide rooms to satisfy the Olympic hotel need.
And so in providing that, in that obligation, is there a fixed rate associated with what the maximum charge can be?
There's a formula to control the costs, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Councilmember Krikorian.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to follow up a little bit on the paper deficit issue, because I get that under the generally accepted accounting principles, the revenues are deferred and so it can't be counted yet. What about the expense side? Are the expenses indicated in here expenses that have actually been expended, or are some of these obligations that have not yet been expended?
No, currently our expenses are what we've actually incurred, and so when I say we have spent 4% of the overall budget, and when we say we've contracted or essentially have earmarked 8%, that is for things like the youth sports program, where we have a contractually obligated responsibility. So we are actually, right now, it's where and how much we've actually spent.
Okay, so where is that cash flow coming from?
So any of the cash that is actually in the door is typically it's coming from a variety of areas. So number one, it's the broadcast distributions that are given to us by the IOC, which is who is responsible for selling all of our media rights. And so that's a contracted income, and that's something that they've already started to pay. Secondly is obviously what we call intellectual property rights, and so that's for the sponsorship and consumer products rights. But because obviously we won't be hosting the games until 2028, we're not actually realizing those revenues, even though we have the cash in the door.
Okay, I see. So cash has actually been received, you just can't count it yet?
That is correct. So
Gotcha,
because, as
okay.
you mentioned, the GAAP accounting requires us to only report on that once we have actually provided the obligation, but we are actually running the business on a cash flow basis, which means we actually today, as part of this report, we've indicated that we actually have an $80 million cash actual balance on our books, and which is continuing to fund as our additional revenues that come in, the actual cash flow needs for the organization.
And I assume the reason for that is because until the obligation is met, there might potentially be a liability to return that.
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So much more important than that is, how do these numbers compare to plan?
We are right where we need to be, and in fact, we are, again, at 65% of contracted revenues. We're well ahead of where any other organizing committee would have been at this point, so we feel cautiously optimistic with all of the revenue targets. And because of how far we are on the revenues, it allows us to have great fidelity, if you will, on how and what we're spending the dollars on, because as we all know, the immovable object for LA 28 is a balanced budget. And I would stress as well, we have and continue to have a $615 million contingency that's built into the expense budget.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilman Blumenfield.
Thank you. small piece of that budget, but an important one for this body is the $160 million for youth sports. How are we doing on the expenditure of that money in terms of when do we expect that to be spent? How much have we spent so far? Are we on track? And are we working toward getting every rec center in the city to be participating?
Yeah, so we obviously got delayed a little bit to launch the programs because of COVID. So I would suggest we are in a catch-up process, and I think we mentioned we have close to $18 million that is available for funding, and that's actually sitting in front of, and further funding that's in front of City Council right now for approval. I think the key thing for us is we're slowly, not even slowly, we're doing it as quickly as possible, expanding to all available city parks that where the economic requirement is there. We have already impacted over almost 100,000 kids in their ability to either free or low cost access to the program. And so we are in the process both of catching up to the years that we weren't able to fund the program via COVID, and we feel that we're on pace to make sure that every kid that wants to play is going to be a part and can be a part of this program will be available.
So okay, so we're catching up. We're gonna get there for sure. We're gonna have some homegrown Olympians, you think?
That's the plan. That's the plan. That is definitely the plan.
Thank you.
All right. So the recommendation is that we approve. Thank you very much, Ms. Carter. Appreciate you being here. So the recommendation is that we approve this joint report of the CLA and the CAO. Mr. Knight, would you please call the roll?
Very good. Councilmember Yaroslavsky?
Yes.
Councilmember Blumenfield? And Councilmember Rodriguez? Very good.
Great. Item number 2, would you please read the item into the record?
Yep. Item number 2, joint CAO-CLA report relative to implementation of working groups identified in the Games Agreement for LA 28.
Hello, council members. I'm Alex Whitehead with the Office of the Chief Legislative Analyst. The CAO and CLA have been instructed to monitor and report every 6 months on the implementation of working groups, planning groups, and other legacy elements identified in the 2028 Games Agreement and outlined in the benchmarks report. LA 28 submitted the most recent of these reports in April 2023, providing an update on 3 working groups specifically: the Sustainability Working Group, the Local Hire Working Group, and the Community Business and Procurement Working Group. LA 28 completed extensive research, conducting information sessions for stakeholders, inviting participation in each working group from various stakeholders, and ultimately holding the first meeting of each working group prior to the deadline of March 2023. The current membership of each working group is provided as an attachment in LA 28's report. Among the activities completed by LA 28 since their last report in October, they've established the membership of each group, hosted their first meetings where they provided an update on games delivery and allowed each member to share priorities for the group, provided working group members the opportunity to provide additional feedback on the LA 28 impact and sustainability framework, continued to receive recommendations of stakeholder organizations to join working groups, continued engagement with government stakeholders regarding human rights, and engaged with government organizations regarding arts and culture. Each working group is anticipated to hold their next meeting in late June 2023. These working groups will continue to meet through March 2025 to establish the goals and programs supported by the Local Hire and Community Business and Procurement Working Groups, and to establish the sustainability plan supported by the Sustainability Working Group. In addition to implementing working groups, the City and LA 28 are currently collaborating to further advance and develop the 2028 Games Mobility Executives Group, the Public Safety Cooperative, and the Games Energy Council. LA 28 and subsequently the CAO and CLA present their next status reports to City Council in October of 2023. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you very much. Just 2 questions from me. Are working group members going to be able to provide assistance and advice after the groups dissolve in March of 25?
I guess I'd ask LA 28 to provide comment on that. Thank you.
Kathy Carter, CEO, LA 28. And let me thank you all. I should have done that the first time around for having us and allowing us to answer some of the questions. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that I'm joined today by a number of Olympians and Paralympians. And I would have just asked, because we're doing this obviously not just for the community, but for the athletes that represent not just our country, but many others, I'd ask them to stand just so we could recognize them.
That's cool.
Thank you. As it relates to the working groups, yes, they will we will dissolve them in 2025. We will continue to have, obviously, lines of communication that will be open, but the formal policy creation and ultimately what we have an aspiration for impact, by that point will actually be operating as opposed to ideating. And so that's why there'll be an end to those, but we'll continue to maintain, and what will be important to us is to maintain open lines of communication with all members of the working group and the community writ large.
Great. And so I'm relatively new, and the working group process was set up before many of us joined the council. Is there an opportunity for folks to be added to the working groups if we have some recommendations, or has the train left the station?
By all means. We've
Okay,
been
great.
working with a number of your offices and the council, all council member offices. All the recommendations actually came from your offices, and we're more than happy to have more people that might be added. It's obviously, we're in the process, but the more people suffice, I mean, provided that they will comply with what we've set up as the responsibilities for being a part of the working group, is always available.
Wonderful. Thank you very
Yes.
much. I have no more questions. Councilwoman Rodriguez.
Thank you. I'm going to beat the same drum that I did before.
Got it.
What's blatantly missing in this is the San Fernando Valley and organizations that are going to help facilitate that. So my question is what organizations or what efforts have you put forward specifically to address half the population in the city of Los Angeles to make sure that they're represented and they have accessibility to these opportunities? Because again, it's this working group is missing, missing half the city population and the geography of the city. So I raise that issue. I'm going to continue to raise that issue until it gets addressed. I want to make sure that by the time we come together for a next, a follow-up conversation, that we've already addressed it with a multitude of organizations that are participating and that are reflective of the inclusivity that we want to have, that we talk about when it comes to these games. As someone who, and I shared this story last time, as someone who, has very fond memories of '84, making sure that the opportunities are available to every part of the city and that it's not concentrated in the metro region or any one particular geographic area. We need to ensure that opportunities are provided across the board.
I thank you for that comment. We're more than happy to work not just with you, but the other council members that are representative of the Valley. We have a great aspiration not just to have the games represented in the Valley, but also to make sure that the voices are heard. So we'll continue to work with your office. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Any more questions? Okay, great. So the recommendation is that we approve this joint report with the CAO and CLA. Mr. Knight, would you please call the roll?
Yes. Councilmember Yaroslavsky?
Yes.
Councilmember Blumenfield? And Councilmember Rodriguez?
Aye.
Great. Moving on to item 3. Mr. Knight, would you please read the item?
Very good. Item number 3, discussion item only, verbal update from Los Angeles Department of Water and Power relative to Council File 15-0989-S20.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Aaron Gross. I am a senior advisor at the LA Department of Water and Power. It is a pleasure to be here today, and I really appreciate, the department really appreciates the opportunity to give you a brief update on activities towards the creation and establishment of the Games Energy Council. The Department of Water and Power has been meeting periodically with LA 28 and with the IOC to discuss the Games Energy Council. In advance of the Games Agreement timeline of March 2024, we've been working towards the establishment of the Games Energy Council. Those pieces of work include drafting a potential roster for the Games Energy Council, drafting milestones for the Games Energy Council, as well as configuration of that council. The department is currently evaluating the venues on the draft list of events and support venues for the Olympics and Paralympics. That work includes evaluating current and needed capacity, strategizing backup power as required, and establishing baseline use for the venues to calculate any increased usage of energy during the games. With the assistance of the mayor's office, we've had preliminary discussions with local and regional transit agencies to discuss electric vehicles, electric vehicle infrastructure, and mobility around the games. We've been meeting with the LA City Attorney's Office to share notes and to make sure that we are appropriately representing and protecting the city and LADWP ratepayers. And with the help of LA28, we'll be reaching out to counterparts in recent and upcoming Olympic cities to learn best practices and lessons learned from both an administrative and technical perspective. Some of the challenges we've identified towards the establishment of the Games Energy Council and its work include finalizing a number of buses and the fueling needs for those buses, finalizing a list of the Olympic and Paralympic venues, facilitating outside LADWP and LA jurisdiction. As you know, some of the venues are outside the city of Los Angeles, so there'll need to be significant coordination with those jurisdictions. And along those lines, we'll need to coordinate with some of the other committees that you're hearing about, the Mobility Committee and the Sustainability Committees. All of those challenges are things we are confident we will be able to accomplish, but wanted to mention them as potential challenges that we see in our work. With that, it was very brief, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you've got.
Can DWP provide 100% renewable power for the games? Is that something that you all are thinking about?
For sure, is something we are thinking about. I am not equipped to be able to answer that question. I would need to some of the power engineers to be able to answer that, but that is for sure a goal.
Okay, it seems like a cool thing for us to do. Yeah, Councilmember Blumenfield.
Sort of inspired, similar idea though. Are there some legacy things that can be left behind with this Olympics that DWP can be working to help with the Olympics, but that can last on as assets in the city? And what kinds of things can we look forward to, or are there things that we can do to help make that a possibility?
Yeah, absolutely. There are definitely some components that can be used for legacy of the games and for the advancement of goals of the city and the department. The clearest example of that would be some of our electric vehicle infrastructure. That's the hope, is that we will need to procure a lot of infrastructure and do a lot of construction for the games to make sure that we meet the transportation needs. And there is an effort both from the department and from our partner agencies to make sure that as much of that infrastructure and as much of that construction is used towards our long-term goals, and we're able to advance our goals based on the expenditures and the work done for that effort.
Yeah, that'd be great. I mean, we see sometimes in other cities that these great things are put in place temporarily, and then it seems like such a waste that they were never built for the long term, and then they're just gone after the Olympics. So we want to partner with you as well if there are ways to juice that up a little bit so that we have that legacy. We want to make sure we do it.
Thank you, absolutely. And to add to that, many of the folks that are working on the Games Energy Council from the department are the same power engineers and administrators that are working on our strategic long-term power plans, and so we are working these efforts into the long-term plans of the department.
Great, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gross. If there are no more questions, then I think this is informational only, so there's no need to vote. I believe this is the last item on our agenda. Mr. Clerk?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Wonderful. Have a good afternoon.